This episode is brought to you by Rainbow Sports Group. Rainbow Sports Group are a leading football infrastructure platform looking to discover and nurture the best young African talent. Rainbow's infrastructure allows players to be placed in a global football ecosystem with the full support throughout their career. For more information, visit rainbow-sports.com.
This is the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. I'm Glenn Hoddle.
Welcome to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. This is episode 15. Episodes are released on Sunday evenings, and we hope you'll join us every week. Today we answer questions from the Evening Standard newspaper for Glenn's weekly column Ask Hoddle, which you can read every Monday. Glenn also looks back to some of the top results from the past couple of match days on his way to a football game this weekend, so he's in the car. But first, let's look back to the latest action.
Here are the headlines.
It turned out to be a great few days for Liverpool, who beat Spurs 2-1 with a late win in midweek before travelling to London where they demolished Crystal Palace 7-0. Both Spurs and Chelsea lost ground on the leaders, with Chelsea losing at Wolves, while Spurs collected 0 points from their away game at Anfield and the home match against high-flying Leicester City. 10-man Sheffield United took the lead at Brighton, but could only come away from the South Coast with a point in a 1-1 draw, leaving them on just 2 points after 14 games. There were wins for Everton, Manchester City and Manchester United, who all climbed the table. So Glenn, it's been a great week for Liverpool, beating Spurs late on by the odd goal and then thrashing Palace 7-0 on Saturday.
Yeah, it's a tremendous week for them. All season you feel as if they've not been quite at their very, very best. But my word, it was such an important goal for them from Firmino late on against Tottenham. It was a wonderful header. But it just got them the points. And then I think now they've really picked up the belief and the momentum on Saturday. But Palace, they were incredibly good in the sense that their 90 minutes, their finishing was outstanding. I don't think I've seen better goals, a glut of goals like that with the quality of the goals. The game in the first half was all on. Palace had opportunities, could have gone 1-1. To be quite honest, it wasn't as a 3-0 deficit at half time for Palace. They would have been quite pleased with the way they played.
Yeah.
But it just shows you how the quality of Liverpool, with a team out at the moment that's missing some top players in Dijk, in Thiago, in Jota could be coming on from the bench or whatever. Salah didn't play, didn't even start. So it is ominous that they played so well. It really is, the rest of the league. Because they were absolutely some of their finishing and some of their play second half was as good as I've seen all season and for a very long time.
And you said that, to be fair, early on in the season when Liverpool weren't playing so well and getting the results. Now they're playing really well and getting 7 goals. As you say, it wasn't as one-sided as the score looked, but boy, they can finish. That's the difference, isn't it, between the Brightons and the West Hams and stuff. That Liverpool just finished the game off.
Well, I think that's why Manchester City are having a little bit of a in and out sort of season at times. Aguero was one that would just finish things off. All great sides have that finisher. There's a lot of teams that can't finish teams off. My word, this Liverpool side, who create a lot. They've got good creative players in their team as well, and they work so hard for each other. The system, it's like it's a system. They know each other's jobs. The shape is the same every week, whoever the individuals are. The work ethic is there to win the ball back, but everyone plays in the same formula. The movement is repetitive, but it's always different players doing it, and they were a joy to watch, particularly second half, and some of the finishing was outstanding.
It's not been the case at Arsenal this season, has it? They lost at home to Burnley by the odd goal. Then they drew with Southampton 1-1. They've just lost to Everton as well. They've just not been playing very well, and their strikers have really gone missing. Where's Willian gone? He was a totally different player at Chelsea.
Yeah, they really have got some problems there. You can see that they're a team low on confidence. They're a team that are undisciplined in many ways. They've got to put that right. There's no way they can keep going. They're not good enough to go down to 10 men and still churn out results. Some teams like Liverpool possibly, or Man City, could do that still, but not Arsenal. So they've got a discipline problem there they've got to sort out. I think the strikers have just lost that confidence. I think it was a big blow for them that Aubameyang hadn't scored for a while, and he got back on the score sheet last week, and then obviously he missed the game with a slight muscle strain. So I think that was a big blow to Arsenal, and that would have been a blow to the dressing room as they went up, to Everton to play the game. And but they look like unfortunately they look like a side that you'd want to play against.
Yeah.
They look a nice football team, play some pretty patterns of football, but you'd like to play against them every week because they'll give you chances, and at the moment they're not going to give you major headaches at the back. So, I think Arteta's got a massive job on his hands at the moment to turn all this round. He really has. Partey needs a bit more time. Obviously, he got injured last weekend. He needs a bit of time to adjust to the game and adjust to his teammates, but he's a big miss as well. But very quickly Arteta's got to turn this round because a few results here and a few results there, they're going to be under immense pressure. They're going to fall very quickly into that bottom three, which no club wants to be. You don't want to be in that bottom three, and they're all clamouring to get out of it. No disrespect to the players that are at Arsenal. None of them players have experienced fighting for relegation.
No.
There's a lot of players, at different clubs, Fulham, West Brom, Burnley, Brighton, Palace themselves. Any clubs. There's a lot of them. You look around in clubs, Sheffield United. They've all experienced battling and having to fight for their lives down there. And I don't think our Arsenal team. I don't think there's any squad member really that's experienced that, and that would be a major concern. They've got to get hold of the reins pretty quickly. I think they've got the London derby against Chelsea, and then they've got let's put it this way, a little bit of an easier fixture list on paper. But you know what? When you're down there and you haven't got the confidence as a team, every single game is difficult.
Yeah.
It's very difficult when the confidence has gone. So yes, they've got a lot of hard work to put in the remaining weeks.
We'll talk about Arsenal again. We've got a listener question a bit later on from the Evening Standard regarding Arsenal, so we'll come back to them. Now, there's no Champions League this week. Obviously, that's on its winter break. And for some clubs, it's going to be nice because there's no game in midweek. But for those in the Carabao Cup, obviously there are games on Tuesday and Wednesday. And I think your thinking is that the Carabao Cup is going to become very important to a few teams now. Yeah.
I think I can see the League Cup being a big trophy for Ollie for Man United. I think it's a big trophy for Mourinho. I think any trophy for Jose, he wants to win it. And I think the likes of Everton, for them to be up there and getting a great result, the last three games they've won, they'll be looking to try and go all the way. That'd be a massive game, that, between United and Everton. But, the likes of these clubs, I think it's a big on their agenda. I think it's, you're looking at Liverpool, and I still say City will get it together. They have always will be the two big favourites. Liverpool, to win the league, I think they've made a little gap for themselves. They've gone ahead in the race, and will they sustain it? Everyone's got to catch them up. You don't see them coming backwards. Someone's got to put a run of games to catch them. So, what with the FA Cup and those teams are not Everton so much, but other teams like United and Arsenal and Tottenham are in, and Leicester, they're all things like that. They're in Europe. But I think it goes up the agenda, this League Cup, when it gets to quarter-final time. And it'd be a massive game for Tottenham, for United and Everton. I can see really putting out strong teams looking to go and win the trophy. And that's what their fans want to do, and it could be a stepping. More importantly as well, Chris, I think it's a stepping stone for more success.
Mm-hmm.
When you win something collectively. Chelsea won it under Mourinho, his first trophy, and look what happened there. It's a stepping stone, to get the confidence, to get that belief that you can win things and you're going to do it again and again. So, that's why I think psychologically it's a massive trophy, as well as, a bit of silverware come the end of the season. So it's got two big meanings for me.
For our listeners who are 18 and over, we have teamed up with Bohemian Brands Football Vodka, where you can buy premium alcohol in your favourite footy team's colours. Click on the link directly from our podcast on Apple Tunes, Spotify, Amazon, etc., and you'll be able to get a direct link to the Bohemian Brands website, where you can choose the team of your choice. The bottles are a brilliant present for any footy mad friend or family member, so either click on our link or visit midnightuk.co.uk and go to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show page, where you'll find more information on Bohemian Brands. Remember, 18 and over only, and please drink responsibly. Thanks.
To get in touch with Glenn with a question for a future Footy Show podcast, you can email Glenn at midnightuk.co.uk or send a tweet to @midnightmix.
Now, as we speak, you're on your way to see West Brom play in the Sunday evening game. What was your thoughts on them getting rid of Slaven Bilic? I mean, they'd had a bad run, obviously, at the start of the season, but the timing of it, and I know it's probably they were working on this beforehand, but to go to Manchester City, draw 1-1, and then lose your job, how does that sit with you as a manager?
Well, I don't think it was down to one.
The timing, though, wasn't it? Yeah.
They probably was lining up the fact they wanted to get a new manager in before the Man City game, of course. And I don't think, even the other way around, it wouldn't have been the best of fixtures to go in as a new manager. So I think they had one eye on that. But yes, the timing of it was they drew a 1-1 against Man City away. It's a hell of a result. But I think it was on the cards from the West Brom perspective. Definitely going into the game, that would have all been thought about, because of the longer, and they just got up, didn't they? And I think it's harsh on Slaven Bilic. I really do, in a way that he hasn't really been given that much money at all to some of the players that were out on loan had to come back and play. I mean, it's not as if he's been given loads of money to strengthen that squad. They were always going to be on the back foot. I've seen a few performances this year, and I've covered some of their games, and some of their football's been okay. Mm-hmm. They've been in certain matches. They've been certainly, not getting absolutely hammered left, right, and centre, but they were losing matches, and they've lost too many. And I think whoever goes in there, Sam Allardyce has gone in there. Whoever's gone in there is going to have a real hard task on their hands. They really are. But obviously Sam's done it before with other teams, and that's the reason why they've gone there. They've gone for Sam at this moment in time, and they start off with Villa at home, and I think they go to Liverpool away next game. So for West Brom, every game is going to be a tough game, because they, no disrespect, they haven't got that much experience or that much quality at Premier League level. Mm.
Now, as we speak, Leeds are losing quite heavily at Manchester United. They're an up and down side, aren't they, Leeds? They won 5-2 against Newcastle. That was 2-2 for quite a long time as well. What do you make of Mr. Bielsa and his impact in the Premier League? And do you think he's obviously different to a lot of other coaches we've seen over the years?
Well, he is. I mean, it's almost football on fast forward. It seems, the way they play, they got no fear, but you're going to get inconsistent results. There's no doubt about it. It's entertaining. I love watching them play as a neutral, watching Leeds play, whoever they're playing against. I'm engrossed. I want to watch the game. But as a fan, you're going to know you're going to get beat 4 one day, you're going to win 4 one day, and that's the way he plays. Now, the Premier League, it might be very dangerous to play like that. It's a very strong league that goes very deep. Every single point has to be earned. And come around March and April, there's moments where you think Leeds could be challenging for the top half of the league, and there's moments where you think if they keep playing like that, so open, then they could be fighting for relegation. And come March, April, for the Premier League and the neutral, I'm hoping that they are, mid-table and they're pretty well safe. But I can't tell you if that's going to happen. I don't think Bielsa could tell you, or the players. I think it's the style that he wants, and the players know how hard they have to work, and it's a non-stop running, going forward and backwards. And I think, some games they run out of steam in 90 minutes. Well, I'm hoping over a long season that, he might just have to change his tactics a tiny bit when it comes to the, around about March time in the league. But that will dictate to how many points he's got on the board and where they are in the league. So, as a neutral, I'll be very, I'll be very greedy and say I hope it doesn't change, because it makes for an open game and it makes for goals and an entertaining match whenever you're watching them.
And as a former manager, you see the games differently to me as a fan. You can see the tactics much clearer, and you can see who's doing what at the right time. Do you understand why Pep Guardiola is a big fan of Bielsa? Is it there for a coach to see why that is?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's different. It's slightly different. Sometimes I can see the theory of it as a real positive, but then there's a lot of negatives as well. And I think I'm always a manager that you've got to look at the balance of a game. You can't win a football match with 10 outfield real creative footballers. They would always lose. Everyone thinks they wouldn't, but they would. You couldn't, if you had the best players in the world all playing in one team, they'd lose in the end, because defensively they'd be short. They'd be short of it, and that's why football, you need the balance. And I think the same with tactics. I've always wanted to play my teams when I was a manager and play the way with a creative and expression and passing game. But you have to then be organised, and you have to have a balance that, it is a game where your opponents want to take the ball off you, and they want to do their thing. So that's the ebb and flow of football, and you've got to have a balance to your team. Sometimes I see, Man City, even over the years, they can't quite get this Champions League, and sometimes I think they've changed slightly this year. They have defended better and focused on a bit more defending, and consequently it might be this year that they actually might go all the way and win the Champions League, because the balance of their game has really, really been there for everyone to see. But I think Leeds is one I'm waiting to see when Bielsa says enough's enough. For us to stay in this league, we're going to have to calm down now. We're going to have to just slightly play it. Fatigue comes into that as well. The slight problem, if you're being a bit cynical, is I'm not sure what sort of contract he's on. I think he's sort of a person that goes 12-month contract at a time.
I think so, yeah.
So that isn't somebody that's thinking of next season and planning for the club. So that's a bit frightening to think that he's thinking, well, it's now or never. I'll worry about, the future, or my future, or the club's future next year. Yeah. That's fine when they come up. So if you see my point. So I think there will come a time where we might actually see him. And that's the sign of a good coach. If he recognises that he might have to just pull the reins in here and there, so they survive, and if they're in halfway, if they're on 10th in position, 9th, 10th of the, near the with 6 games to go, then that's not a problem. It's all work for him. But I think that will be the key moment where he might have to just pull the reins in at times just to get the points and get the safety for Leeds United to stay in the Premier League.
And as you say, he's clearly a great coach. He's done really well with Calvin Phillips, who's come from nowhere into the England squad, and Patrick Bamford scoring goals, which I obviously said I don't think he would in the Premier League. So he's brought those two and others forward as well, hasn't he, already? Well,
I think Bamford, has done a marvellous job. But the way they play, they do create. They create a lot of chances. I'm not sure Bamford would be a player that would play in a club where if you only created 2 2 or 3 chances that you feel that Bamford would be score that amount of goals. But Leeds are made for Bamford, and Bamford's made for them in the sense that he's got that confidence now because there is a lot of chances created for him, and he's taking enough of them to hit people in the eye and get the results when they do need them. So that and Phillips for me is he's got a range of passing that he has crept up on everyone. He's got a real range of passing where he's ahead of a lot of players in the England squad that can hit diagonal passes and what I call killer passes that can hurt people, can take people out of the game. Whereas a lot of people you see go square or diagonals across the pitch, that's fine, the change of play. But no, he's got a real good picture and he can actually hurt teams and penetrate with his passing like nobody else. He sits in there for Leeds. He knows how to play that position. And he puts his foot in and digs at the same time. So I think there is so much more to come from Phillips. I really do believe that. And he's an exciting player to watch with the way he passes the ball.
This episode is brought to you by Rainbow Sports Group. The Rainbow Sports Group are a leading football infrastructure platform looking to discover and nurture the best young African talent. The CEO, Kingsley Pungong, is an agent, club owner, academy owner, and a huge investor in promoting African football. He sees philanthropy as part of his business model and is intent on leaving a lasting legacy for African football. For more information, visit rainbow-sports.com. You're listening to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with Glenn, this is how to do it.
To get in touch with Glenn with a question for a future Footy Show podcast, you can email glenn@midnightuk.co.uk or send a tweet to @MidnightMix.
Let's go to some of the questions then from the Evening Standard and the readers and our listeners coming in for that, and they're mostly based on London teams, obviously, with the location of the newspaper. First of all, Jenny asks, how concerned should Chelsea be about the former Kai Havertz and Timo Werner?
Well, I think Havertz is one that hasn't... I've said this before. I look at Havertz at the moment. He's not anywhere near the player that he was showing in Germany. There's no doubt about it. He's playing a bit deeper. His role is a bit deeper in Chelsea. I think if he starts arriving in the penalty area a bit more, I think we'll see the best of him. But no, he looks like he wants to play at a certain sort of pace and a certain the timing of it wants to be quite an easy on the eye.
Yeah.
He is a good player. I think there's more to come. I really do. But I think he looks like a character possibly that needs a little bit of time to settle down on and off the pitch, maybe. Werner will come back. Every striker, every player like that will hit the road running, and then suddenly, he'll have a little bit of a lull, which he has done. But no, I've got no doubt about him that he's already shown Chelsea fans enough that he is a top player, and I think he'll just a goal here or there, and I think he'll be back to his very best. So I wouldn't have any worries about Werner. I think he's a top quality player down the middle or wide on either berth. But Havertz is the one that I think Frank would be disappointed with. I think there's more to come. Whether he can produce that remains to be seen. I think he's got it's almost like he just wants to be a nice player. And he's got to be a little bit more assertive, get himself in the box, hurt himself a little bit, in the sense of his running ability to get in the box. And I think he'll score goals because he does. In Germany, he was almost like an out-and-out striker, and he was scoring goals with his left foot, right foot, headers, and all sorts. So I just think he's finding that difficult to adjust. Chelsea is a team that suits him, no doubt about that. So I think he will get there in the end, but it was going to obviously take a bit of time.
Obviously, in the Bundesliga, he had a lot more time, and the game's not as attacking and strong in midfield as it is over here. So do you think the English football suits him then, or can he adapt?
Well, I think he's a good enough player to adapt. I think he'll have that time. I think he's got to play a little bit. In Germany, it was more. You're right. He had a little bit of time. He could play. He could take 3 or 4 touches sometimes and look up and see it. But he's got to play at a quicker tempo. He's got to play 1 and 2 touch sometimes. But I think he's got to arrive. For me, he's a goal scorer, and we haven't seen that at Chelsea. He could be somebody that ends up scoring a lot of goals. But at the moment, he's not getting in them positions. He really isn't. And I don't see him playing for Chelsea at the moment as the number 9, as right up there. They've got too many options already. But I think he's got a lot to do to win Frank over, where he becomes a part of the spine of the team. I don't think at the moment, what he's showing so far, I don't think that will happen with the performances he's put in so far. So he's got to get better. I think he's capable of getting better. He's still only a young man, but I think he's adjusting to the tempo and the ferocity of the Premier League. Is more than any other league in the world, more than La Liga or in Italy or France or anywhere.
Yeah.
That's why it's the most exciting league in the world.
Now, Glyn is asking Glenn, this should be difficult for me, should Mikel Arteta, should he bring back Mesut Ozil at Arsenal? Now, that is a dilemma for a manager, isn't it?
Well, it's not a dilemma, really, if he thinks he's better than some of the youngsters for this moment in time.
But doesn't he lose face if he brings him back, after sort of discarding him into the wilderness for 6-7 months? If he brings him back, doesn't the other squad members kind of look at you and go, well, you've lost that battle then, Mikel?
No, it's nothing to do with battles. None of them players could look at the manager and question the manager at the moment.
True.
They should be looking in the mirror and questioning themselves.
Yeah, you're right.
The way they're performing.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if he's available and he's fit and he's in the squad, then it should be thought about at least. And if not, you might have a player there that's desperate to show the Arsenal fans, to show his manager that he's made a big mistake. You might not. I'm not sure what his frame of mind is, but talent-wise, why not? There's nobody in that Arsenal team at the moment that you would say, well, I couldn't leave him out and I couldn't leave him out. There just isn't. There's not a player in there that goes down as every week would be penciled in number 1, saying it. We'll start our team from there. So if that's the case, then of course, quality of Ozil. But if they're in a dogfight, if they're down there in the relegation, he's not the question mark, with inverted commas, he's not the style of player that you would think would get them out of trouble. But I don't think they have got that type of player, really. So I'm saying, well, if they're going to have to get out of it, he might feel he needs to football his way out of it, of his problems. Then, Ozil would be one that you'd be thinking about. I don't see he couldn't lose. I don't think the manager can lose, to be honest. And if he keeps going as it is and he doesn't turn it round, the only thing he could lose is his job eventually. I don't think this season, but he's got to do what's right for himself and the club first.
Well, they're the 2 questions for the podcast from the Evening Standard readers. To find out the answers to the other questions, you can go to www.standard.co.uk/sport and search for Ask Hoddle, where the column appears every Monday. For our listeners who are 18 and over, we have teamed up with Bohemian Brands Football Vodka, where you can buy premium alcohol in your favourite footy team's colours. Click on the link directly from our podcast on Apple Tunes, Spotify, Amazon, etc., and you'll be able to get a direct link to the Bohemian Brands website, where you can choose the team of your choice. The bottles are a brilliant present for any footy mad friend or family member. So either click on our link or visit midnightuk.co.uk and go to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show page, where you'll find more information on Bohemian Brands. Remember, 18 and over only, and please drink responsibly. Thanks. Let's finish today's episode with a quick look forward, and a big week for Chelsea. On Monday they're at home to West Ham, and then on Saturday they are away at Arsenal. They don't have a game in midweek. They're not in the Carabao Cup any longer, in the League Cup. They're out of that. So will Frank be happy that he's almost got a week to prepare without that midweek fixture this week?
Yeah, I think you're thankful that it's coming. You want to be in every trophy. I mean, I'm sure he'd prefer to be in the quarterfinals and have knocked Tottenham out in the League Cup, but it is what it is. Once it's like that, he's had time to focus on this, extra time to focus on the West Ham game going into it, and then he's going to have a little bit more time focusing on the Arsenal 2 derby matches, which they've got to come out. I think Chelsea and Frank will be looking to come out with 6 points. They'll be aggressive with themselves, to say, look, we've got to get back to winning football matches, and these are two real big rivals, London derby games that need to be won. And I think he'll love the fact that he's had time to prepare. Sometimes you have a few months where you're getting over one game and you're preparing for the next, and it can be a bit baffling sometimes, and you don't get that time to prepare properly. But there is no, there's no excuse on that for this week, that's for sure. I expect Chelsea to play well and do well in these two fixtures, I really do.
And now that the league has settled down a little bit, 14 matches in, is the table looking a little bit more than we expected it to, with Liverpool, Leicester, Man United, Everton, Tottenham up there, Manchester City, Chelsea not far behind? Is it settling down a bit now?
Yeah, I think it's settling down. Man City have crept up there, haven't they? I mean, I think that the two big stories, I suppose, the surprises is Southampton and Everton, maybe, and Arsenal being down where they are, as low as they are. That's the three stories of the league that is a slight surprise. I think it's a big surprise, maybe as well, that Sheffield United have found themselves down the bottom there.
Yeah.
But there's 4 teams there. The rest is just starting to settle down, and we'll see how it goes. But it's exciting. The one thing for sure is you cannot call the results. You cannot. You just don't know what's coming round the corner. You really don't. The only team I think that will go against what I've just said there is Liverpool. I think Liverpool now, have settled down. They're playing now very good. They've got confidence. They're playing some lovely football again. They're playing that possession when they need to play possession, and that quick 3 up front are always going to cause you problems. And they're doing it with players missing as well. So it's, it is ominous that I think that they're just going to go from, in my opinion, from strength to strength.
Well, that's it for episode number 15. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back again very soon. Make sure you follow us on all the leading podcast platforms. It's the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show.
That's all for today. See you next week.